Welcome to Determined to Succeed. I'm your host, Dawn Mullarney, also known as Unique Connector. So I'm so excited to have Priya join me today. So, Priya, I want to kick it off with why are you so passionate when it comes to building connection with other people?
First of all, thank you for having me here to join
Yes.
you on your this wonderful podcast. And it's been such a pleasure to get to know you. So why am I passionate about connections? Well, we think all good things happen through connections. If I look at my life with the business to everything, if you know someone, things happen faster and it's fun to connect with people.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I think it's so interesting how you and I connected, but then where it's come and how the spider web keeps growing. And so let's talk about your business and why connection is kind of a key important piece of your business. So talk to us more about that.
Yeah, as you know, a little bit more about I'll share a little bit more about Keyhubs. Keyhubs is, as a software as a services company where we go inside on an organization and then find, who are the movers and shakers inside the organization, how the work really gets done. And, by just simply asking simple questions and mapping the relationships, we find these people who are really the key influencers inside an organization. And they're the ones, driving the culture. Every company has a culture, either you want to know it or not. And
Mhm.
so it's kind of good to know who are these people really driving the positive culture. And it turns out to be they're the people who are the connectors. They're the ones who are just curious, just love to connect with people, want to know about others, make people come, welcome when they walk into the office. And I think after doing the work of Keyhubs, when we learned this, we just really got more and more passionate about it and kind of also inspired us to do the same, to get out of our comfort zone and then connect with the people who you wouldn't connect otherwise. One thing is really, I would say I've really started doing, and I was guilty of it for not doing for so long. I was very just comfortable in my own little bubble of Indian. Even within Indian, like a North Indian bubble where I mostly, did all my social hanging out, connecting, or whatever was is just in that little social bubble. And yet the studies show, the innovation and, all the good stuff for our brain and everything happens when we step away from our these comfort zones and step away from our these little bubbles. So when we would do these key assessments and we would see like how it is important for us to, connect with the others, which we otherwise wouldn't connect, and how it benefits to some of these people who do it, and kind of inspired me to do the same. And so I started to really step out of my comfort zone around 2018, 17, when I was getting out of, out and about with Keyhubs, and really got into the path of like connecting with the people who otherwise I wouldn't have connected. I call them these connections I started to make, which wouldn't have happened. And these are like uncommon connections in my world. And it's just really has enriched my life. I've really enjoyed, being part of different networks, different groups, and different people, learned about different cultures, and it's really had expanded my brain. So I'm really big into it.
Mm. Well, and I love how you talk about too how it wasn't natural for you and it was uncomfortable. And I think that's, a common thing for a lot of us of meeting new people and it's uncomfortable and it's what do we talk about and how are we going to build a connection? And so that's where I just love that you were uncomfortable, similar to me, is being the shy girl, now becoming a connector of people, where I love too that it's you did this before even COVID. And so I think even too, through this, what is even something that you've done even through the pandemic
Mhm.
that you're still building connection and that you still learn new things and was creative, and how it gave you probably a new perspective even when it came to connection.
Oh yeah, I would say actually COVID excelled this side of me. I was very quiet and introvert before COVID, and I was kind of a little bit getting out of my comfort zone. I was taking some of these business development programs where I had to really, step out of my comfort zone and talk to people who I wouldn't have otherwise talked, go to some of these, events and stuff. But at the same time, I was still very shy and still figuring it out. But when the COVID hit, the Zoom world really opened up the doors for me. And I joined as many online, meetings, networking events, or things I could do. I was even connecting to people in Australia. I was connecting to people in Norway. And it really, I would say after, doing 5, 10, 20 different connections with people online, you're like, this is fun. Actually, people are fun. I
Yeah.
started enjoying, learning about their lives, how they grew up, and nobody's story is the same. Everybody had their different story, and I just started to enjoy it. And I think when the things went back to normal, and it kind of just became the normal for me, just to meet people in person and really connect with them. And it kind of started to lead to when you meet with someone, they're like, think about it, oh, you should connect with so and so for this thing. So kind of started to also be a fruitful connections. And it just kind of became the theme, like we need to just get out and connect with people, or I need to just get out and connect with people for no other reason, just to connect and to learn about each other. And there's a 1 year I went through this whole process of 28 networking events, attending 28. So I decided I'm going to be out and about at least once a week, even twice a week, to, be at these different networking events. And then the one thing I noticed was hard at the beginning for me was to, meet with the people who I otherwise wouldn't meet, and how do you start the conversation? And,
Mhm.
and I noticed a lot of the time people come with the two people they knew into the conference or networking event, and then they sit with that person, don't really make new connections, even though it's a networking event. So I started to really force myself and others to sit at a different table where we didn't know anyone. And it kind of became my theme. Whoever I went with, like to some of the friends I went with, I'm like, you know what? Let's meet at least 2 new people tonight. And that became a theme. And that kind of helped us get out of our this, comfort zone to connect with others who we wouldn't connect otherwise. So I would say COVID actually really helped me.
Well, and I love the ripple effect that you're making and having other people be challenged to go to an event and go and meet new people. And that's, I know, really out of a lot of people's comfort zone. And they're still trying to navigate this world of, virtual, in person, all these things. And, it kind of just makes me giggle of like how we met. You and I were helping at registration for Culture Con. Like, I wanted to help volunteer, and I always love registration because then you meet a lot of people and you're kind of helping and it's busy. And you and I were doing that and helping set up. And then you're like, oh, my husband's doing a presentation. And that's where I feel like just the light bulbs really went off for me of how much connection was so important to me, but then also to realizing, oh my gosh, was I a champion in the past of my past companies that I was at? And was I a key influential employee? And so that's the part even too, I would love to kind of dig a little bit deeper when it comes to key hubs and how maybe companies should get just a new perspective on this, because I think they know all the culture, or they think the leader is always the main person that's driving the bus, when really it could be some key influential people that are in different roles, and how you have created this software to really help find those people and to kind of help companies recognize that. So talk to me a little bit about, the development of key hubs, but then also too what I was just talking about at the presentation, because it was just mind blowing to me.
Well, thank you, Don. Yeah, well, Keyhubs was founded as a hobby. So my partner, my husband, he learned the concept of mapping the informal networks in his business school. And he came to me and he's like, oh, I can't wait to, map the relationships inside my organization. And we Googled and Googled, couldn't find any technology around it. And we're like, let's do it, let's do it. And then that's how we founded the Keyhubs, just for fun. And then we created a
Love
very
it.
small, bare minimum product to kind of, test it out. And we had it as a hobby for a couple of years. Not till like 2009, we jumped in it full time. And at that point, it was very clear to us, like, there was a demand for it. And then people didn't know. It's just still, till this day, it's a very, I feel like even after being in the business for 14, 15 years, it's still a new concept in some ways. People really don't know it. And a lot of the time, um, when we go in and we're trying to, talk to the leaders and stuff, and like, really, it's like, part of that I really enjoy, that we are still, new, and we continue to innovate. We have, developed the technology further, but, people are kind of licensed in it, and they have the capability of doing what we do. But anyways, I'll go back to what it does. So basically, mapping the informal networks is, finding who are the people really driving the culture inside an organization. Like, I would make it a little simple example. Like, we all know there's a Bob or Mary inside an organization who everybody goes to, for mentorship, for, socialization, for advice, or whatever you call it. But imagine if that person is removed from the organization, how that affects the culture. Not only that affects the culture, it affects everything, productivity to whatever you name it. On the other side, very often leaders don't even know who that person is. They might be buried under the, hierarchical structure, or, leaders has no way of knowing because, they don't report to them, or, there's several different reasons. So we take that, that's why we say we make the invisible visible by identifying these employees who are hidden from the leadership team. And the studies show that leaders are only accurate in identifying these people by 30%. How could you go, from good to great if you can only identify 30%? And so we take that guesswork out, and by simple assessment, we can highlight on these people who are really driving the culture inside an organization. And even though we've been around for 14, 15 years, as I said earlier, still, we feel like we're still teaching people about this concept, like how you can really see what's happening, and you can really measure, and you can go in the direction you want to go through the help of these, hidden leaders, hidden influencers. And it's a much faster way, to change the culture.
Yeah. Well, and I think of too how many companies are changing softwares, they're changing systems, they're maybe acquiring another company. And if they don't take the time to recognize who these key influential people are, that might not go smoothly. And that's where I think of sometimes with change, they're not always fully prepared. And getting that one person on board has such a trickle effect on everybody else, because if they're that key person that comes to them, for the advice you just said, or just if they're on board, then everybody else is going to be on board.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, if that person is on board, it's easier. I mean, imagine if somebody is considered as a change agent. And if you want to bring change through them, how much easier and faster it would be. If a leader doesn't have a much influence and is trying to bring change forward, it's not going to happen. But if you use these or leverage these people who already have an influence and bring change forward through them, it's a much faster and easier process because people already go to them, already believe in them. And so I think it's it's my my passion, my project. So I'm big into it, but I think there's no other way to do it. There's no other
Yeah.
way to bring the change you want, or have the goals you have in your mind, to achieve those goals. I mean, you can speak from your own experience, isn't it? Like where you worked, you said, you knew how you were perceived by others, and, whatever the time we've had the connection, I can see you were one of those employees who people would look forward to connecting, or were coming to like, hey, do you know so and so who can help me? Like, maybe I would love to hear your perspective on this.
Yeah. Well, and I think of sometimes too, I think when I was even at the presentation and heard you guys for the first time, I had those aha moments of like, oh my gosh, is this really why sometimes I was included in certain meetings? Sometimes I think when you're at the table with the leaders, you sometimes, of course, go into that imposter syndrome of like, oh, are they just having me here to be the note taker, or, because I've been at the events, whatnot. But really it was kind of, they wanted to hear my thoughts. And my boss would always say, speak up, tell them your ideas. You're the one helping drive the bus. And I was like, okay. And so I just think, if I didn't have him pushing me, I wouldn't have always showed up as the key influential employee that I thought or didn't even know that I was, and so that's where I love how you come from a different lens for people to think differently and outside the box because like me, I didn't even realize I was in that role till your
Yeah,
presentation.
yeah, I would say that's exactly the same thing, Don. Like very often when we go in and do these assessments, um, A, leaders don't know who they are.
Yeah.
B, people don't know they are that influential either. So it's in both ways. So we kind of, bring that in the sight of leadership team and also tell them to recognize, reward these people, they're already doing a great job. They're doing such a great work. Reward them and then
Mm,
leverage them. And so it's kind of interesting for us to even see like aha moment when the leader is like, this person, like Bob, it's like, oh, or, it's like Mary, really? She's really the key influencers, or, she's the one, making all this happen. On the other side, when we go and tell this to Mary, and she's like, wow, I didn't know I had such a great influence. It's
mm.
both ways. So that's probably the most exciting piece of our work is for me to kind of see how the revealing process goes with the data. When we sit down, like how much the leader coming into it really knows already, and how much can we really show him, which he has no idea. So with our last 14 years or 15 years of work, it's been like only 30% they know.
Ugh.
But yeah.
Which is crazy, and that's where I think too, just having that spotlight to make them recognize, but also too of like why important this employer or this employee is and why we need to make sure they stay around because they're keeping your bus moving, and keeping everybody in the seats and happy. And that's the part that has been so intriguing to me to kind of learn more because seen it from the different lens, I guess you could say.
Oh yeah.
And so go ahead.
Oh, I was just gonna say it's important, not only important to keep that employee, but imagine they have the influence. So very often we see this phenomena. So not only the company loses the key employee, but they lose a lot of the other people who follow them. So when they
Mm,
leave the organization, they take all the other people, good people, with them who
yeah.
follow them. So it's a double loss for the organization. Not only they don't know who this person is, but they don't know that this person has such a great impact or influence that they're going to take all the other good people with them.
So do you feel like it's best for employers to think of you before change is coming? Like when's the best time to even bring in key hubs to a company?
Oh,
Have you found?
I would like to say that Keyhubs is needed all the time.
Mhm.
I'm a little bit biased with my work as well. Um, there's no time in your organization inside your team where you shouldn't be doing this kind of assessment. You should know. So when you are having these big change initiatives coming in place, so you already know who to leverage. But at the same time, I would say the times when we come in handy is like acquisition and merger, like when the two organizations are coming together. It's like, who are the people who can go in the leadership teams from both sides, or who are the people would not affect during this merger and acquisition. So that's the one big place we work in. We've also done work around team dynamics and whatever the we said we are not one size fits all, so we customize. Each of our assessment is customizable. So we have done work like around sales strategies, who are the
Mm.
people you should be leveraging when your numbers aren't hitting, or so pretty much anything around the organizational development, you can bring us in.
Ooh. Well, and two, it's probably a way to recognize maybe who the resistors might be, maybe who the
Oh yeah.
champions are to for the change, which is good, but also to maybe to recognize who are the ones that are going to be the major speed bumps in the road for us to make this change.
Yeah, I mean, we try to measure only the positive dimensions when we do the
Mhm.
work, but there have been some times where we do kind of measure like who is the resistor to change, who creates the more stress around work, or some of these negative, I should say, dimensions we also measure sometimes. But usually, when you're measuring the positive, it kind of also gives you the picture of, who are the people not picked on that also, you can see if they're not showing up in the positive dimensions, why aren't they showing up? So it kind of gives you, so we kind of try to not go in the very negative dimensions to measure. It already gives you the perspective by measuring the positive sides of it, like, who you consider team player, who's a champion at work, wants you to, brings you every day to work, gives you this energy, come to work every day. So those are the things we look forward to measuring and seeing who are these people, versus who are the resistors to change or stressor at work.
And that's why I think too, just another key point of why I wanted to learn more and to learn more about you guys because you are so positive and you always like to every time I'm learning more about Keyhubs, it's all about the positive thing of, the questions you're asking even. And that's the part I think for me has really struck with me and really um remind me of to lean into the positive things because that's one of my top strengths. And that's why I think we've aligned well because I love how to instantly you're like, no, we kind of really focus on the positive because it should be. We should be focusing on the employees that are bringing the change, that want to help be more efficient, be more effective, help the bus keep moving in the business. And that's the part deep down, I think I'm really thankful that we met and that we got this deeper connection because it's all been positive things that I've been learning and continue to flourish and learn from you and blossom from you guys too.
Thank you, Don. I would say it's a likewise. You bring the same positive energy in our lives too. And your love and support has been amazing for us too. I will express a little bit on the positive. Why am I the way I am? And I think it has to go back to a lot how I was raised. I was raised
Mhm.
in India, and I think the things around me wasn't like always perfect financially, and even my parents, they came from Pakistan after the partition, so they had to go through a lot of upheaval as a refugee, came into the country, so they had to literally leave everything behind and start their life all over again. So my parents were really the people who would teach me, always say there's a two ways you can look at the life, is glass half full or half empty,
Mm,
so it's very easy for us to start looking at the things we don't have, but what makes us really happy and successful is by being grateful for what we have in life. And I think that's the attitude has been for me growing up. I'm not going to look at the things which aren't there. I'm going to look at the things which are in front of me and be optimistic and positive. And I think just because of that attitude and that, desire or having this mindset has really helped us with the entrepreneurial journey. Otherwise, it's very hard. There is um, no one would tell you that the entrepreneurial journey is just an up journey. It's a very much of a roller coaster, up and down journey. And if you don't be grateful and be positive and have some, faith, it's hard to be on this journey. And I feel
mm,
like more and more I stay on this path, the more and more I feel successful, and feel accomplishing things.
Well, you ended that so eloquently. And this is why I'm so thankful because you guys have really helped me too on my entrepreneurial journey of just helping me have that right mindset and to have the good perspective on things because this is the journey of life. We're always learning and continuing to grow. And so yeah, I'm very thankful that we met that random morning at registration because I've learned so much from you guys in just the last year and a half. So I appreciate you and keep shining bright. And I hope that the listeners here had some great takeaways. And if they want to learn more about Keyhubs, they need to reach out to Priya or reach out to me. And I'll make sure to make that connection because this is something that more businesses need to know about and also to think about when it comes to their employees and to really help their business keep growing.
Thank you, Don. This has been amazing, and thanks for taking such a great interest and in Key Hubs and really supporting. us and supporting the people who are kind of, key influencers inside an organization, taking this, road to help them succeed. I feel like you're
Mm,
more determined to do that. So thanks for doing that. It's been such a fun and honor for us to get to know you too, Don. So keep
yeah.
up the good work. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Thank you. And thank you to our listeners for listening. And I hope there was some great takeaways from today. So thank you, Priya.
Thank you, Don.